Now, going off of that, I know LaMelo is an LA guy, and more it seems like players are pushing to teams or to cities that they would like to go. Do you think that's obviously not Lakers, but maybe Clippers with Norman Powell? You think they would get in there, or does that just become too many cooks in the kitchen? You think with Harden and Kawhi that they're just going to stay course with what they're doing there?
I So there's a couple things. Number one, like LaMelo having 4 years left has minimal to no say on where he goes. When a player's in the last year, they have the most power because, if you're a strong enough player and you're going to unrestricted free agency and you're going to get max offers, you just tell the team, like, there's no way we're re-signing. So if you want to trade for us as a rental for a year, we'll show up. We don't want to be there and we're going to leave in a year. That's up to you. And that'll usually scare off the team. They don't want to bring in a star who doesn't want to be there. That rarely works well. Then, with James Harden and some other guys, even Damian Lillard, they've started to push harder when they've had 2 or even 3 years left. But like James was able to successfully get to where he wanted to go, but Dame wasn't, because Dame's was, I think, 3 years at the time. So now you look at Melo, a young player who hasn't really achieved much other than, some all-star appearances, which is great. And I'm not slighting his career. I'm just saying it's not like you're talking about trading Giannis or Jokic or something crazy, right? We're talking about a guy who is yet to prove that his brand of basketball can lead a team to successful playoff performance. So with 4 years left, I don't think LaMelo has any say. As far as the Clippers, that's a very good question. As far as what I think they'll do is try to get Harden to time with Kawhi to end in 26, 27. And the only obvious guy that is an issue is Powell is extension eligible and he's going to want money now. And if they're not going to give it to him, he's not going to want 1 year. Then maybe he's the sacrifice they have to make to improve. So Powell could be the guy that they trade with Bogdanovich timing perfectly, where he's got a team option next year.
And it's not guaranteed, right? Like fully.
Well, team option, it is guaranteed, but it's a team option. So it's only guaranteed. The salary is guaranteed, but only if they opt into it, right? So the year doesn't exist. If the year exists by option, then it's a guaranteed year. So there are cases where you have an option that's also not guaranteed. So Duncan Robinson has an ETO, and if he doesn't take his option and doesn't opt out early,
or Fred VanVleet as a non-guaranteed.
Well, that's closer to this. So those are fully guaranteed if they're opted in.
I thought his was only 10 million guaranteed only.
Who's that?
Fred VanVleet's.
I'd have to check that. I don't believe that to be true, but I'd have to check that.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I thought his was player team option, but only partially guaranteed team option.
Well, I can answer that while you're asking me other questions. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So you were saying, so basically the Clippers in turn, as we knew, their trade chip is Norman Powell and or Bogdanovich with his option.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, the question is, after a good year, does Kawhi try to get another year too? So they kind of have to decide, have they reached the pinnacle? This was their absolute best season they've had in a long time, and everyone was healthy, and they still fell short, admittedly, by a crazy last second play that basically blew their whole postseason up with Aaron Gordon on the last second dunk, which was absolutely. I don't think LaMelo makes sense for who they are. No, VanVleet's all his third year's fully guaranteed if they opt
fully. Okay.
So it's yeah. Duncan Robinson is a better example, where he's 19-9 almost for the Heat, and he has an option which he can opt out of, that early termination option. But when he doesn't, which I assume he won't, then it's only 9.9 guaranteed. So then it's,
and that's rare.
Time for it is rare for substantial contracts. It's not that rare for minimum contracts. Short small deals. It's not, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's not uncommon for like a small short deal to have a combination of option, non-guarantee, or partial guarantee. So like Scottie Pippen, for instance, on Memphis, he's got
Or Shake.
Shake. Does Shake have an option year? I don't know if Shake has. I think his is all just non-guaranteed.
All just non-guaranteed.
Yeah, but in Scottie Pippen Jr., so the way it works is that in an option, the terms have to be basically the same as the prior year, except in a rookie scale. Not a rookie scale, except in a second round pick exception. That's kind of its own thing. So not for second round pick exception, which are the special way you can sign a second round pick. Scottie Pippen, when undrafted, was signed via the non-taxpayer mid-level by Memphis to a 4-year deal, 3-year deal. Let me see. He signed a 4-year deal. Okay. So his last year is a team option. The second to last year is only $350,000 guaranteed. So the way it works is that the terms basically have to be the same in the option. So because the year before isn't guaranteed, when he's opted in, assuming he is, it has to be the same terms of non-guaranteed, and it scales up. So instead of it being $350 guaranteed, it'll be $396 because it's proportional based on his salary. And then the timing is a little, it's basically equal timing, July 3rd, and then July 3rd of each year. So like there's some minute details in how contracts are written where that becomes a default. So it is relatively common in those scenarios, but in like a big contract, it is less common. Like the Duncan Robinson ETOs he's the only one left actually with an early termination option. Anthony Davis, Davis Bertans, and Duncan Robinson were the only 3, and now Duncan is the only one. I hope someone else gets one, just because when I teach, I need to have an example of a player with one, and I'll use Duncan for as long as I can, but it'd be better to have like, here's an active player so I can teach how an early termination option works. And it just gets more and more abstract when no one has it, and it doesn't exist in the NBA. So
I only knew about them through football because they were more common in NFL contracts for
it used to be
having.
more common in the NBA, but that was because you used to have the ability to do 7 or 6 year contracts. And the idea is that the last year you would have like a player option. This is like a star player. The last year, player option. The second to last year would be ETO. You can't do that anymore. That's 100% illegal now. But
Tim Conley had one though. Like from an executive standpoint, you remember last year he pushed his ETO option from last year to this year, and then with the whole because he said he was moving the option because the whole Mark Lore arbitration was ongoing. So he said I guess because he had team equity in his contract, he said he was going to push it to next year, and then now he's expected to sign a new contract. But is that more common, I guess, in like for coaches? Because also coaches have that. We heard already the option, like we'll hear either coaches will pick up their option or a team will pick up their early option, like for Darko Rajakovic. So I know you said it's not common in players anymore, but is this something, I don't know if you have any knowledge about, like from an exact coach?
It's just such vastly different rules. Like the rules are so vast because like coaches' contracts aren't tied to basketball related income. They're not like.
Why? You would think they would, right?
It's a completely different. Like, you have 30 coaches, right, and not including assistants, right? Like we have 500 something players. It's a whole. How does the money that comes in for the NBA get split up? You're allowed to pay a coach a little bit. You're allowed to pay a coach a lot. Smaller markets might pay a little, or they might pay a lot if they get a chance to get a big name. Some big markets will spend a ton. Some big markets will be cheap.
So with the Grizzlies, that's why it was a big name when they brought in 7-figure assistants to last offseason for Taylor Jenkins in comparison if it's a different market.
Right. Like, I mean, it's totally different universe because of, the fans aren't paying to see Taylor Jenkins or David Adelman or Doc Rivers or JJ Redick. Like, they're paying to see the players, And so they're in it, like there's like referees association, like the referees have their own union and their own collective bargaining. That coaches have their own union and their own collective bargaining, but they're independent bodies separate from the MBPA, which represents the players, and they're just based on a different set of economics, right? Like they're not necessarily tied to the growth of the league. They're like if the NBA is healthy, they're going to spend more on refs because they can, because the league is healthy. But it's just a different animal.